This Sharpie video is going to be short and sweet, not too bad at all. When you guys start with Sharpie, you'll want to make sure and have a paper under your project. Now, I always say Sharpie, but it doesn't need to be Sharpie brand, just any black permanent marker, all right? Now, around the edges for permanent marker, I'd like you guys to go in and maybe use a thicker marker. But just because it's thick doesn't mean it has to be like a super thick solid line. I'm kind of doing a light sketchy line, or I'm kind of picking up the marker every now and then so that it looks a little bit more wispy, a little bit more natural, not so much like a cartoon solid black outline. And then I'm gonna continue that way. I think. Oh, sorry guys, we're gonna have bells and announcements and stuff in these videos, but I'm sure not gonna restart them. So anyway, so I'm gonna continue like that with the outlines around the hand, maybe even in like these dark crevices here. These are pretty dark areas. So I might continue in with those, kind of making these with the thick Sharpie. And then when you get onto the creases in the hand, like these wrinkles going through here and the lines going over the hand, those lines I definitely want to draw in with an ultra fine Sharpie. Okay, so I started with the fine point. These ones I'm going to do the ultra fine. So if I was going in here on the pointer finger or the forefinger, I'm going to make this a broken line. And I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. When you do the outlines of fingernails, you might want to kind of do the same thing. Do the ultra fine Sharpie and have it be more like a dashed or dotted line, not a super solid line. Okay? So there's fingernails, there's crinkles in the fingers. If the crease is in the hand, like see this crease here is pretty dark, I think I'm going to maybe just continue that one with my dark Sharpie, kind of like that. And again, those lines usually look kind of broken. If you want to go in and add some like, smaller lines with it, that would be probably the most detailed way to go about it. And if you look really closely, you can see that a lot of those lines are made up of kind of like small broken lines, that they do have a lot of lines inside there, okay? So good luck with Sharpie. Try and be nice and neat. Try and pay attention to like what areas are thick and dark and need the fine point Sharpie, and then what areas are really delicate and need the ultra fine Sharpie, okay? And then I'll kind of show you guys at the end of this video, I'll show you a clip of what it looks like when I'm finished with Sharpie. After you finish with Sharpie, by the way, you should go in with an eraser and erase all remaining pencil lines before we start the watercolor stage. Okay, so I've finished the Sharpie stage. Oh, sorry. Let me turn on these lights so you guys can see what we're looking at here. I finished the Sharpie and I've decided not to erase all the pencil lines. If you look a little bit more closely, you can still see some subtle gray pencil lines in there. And I just don't want to lose them. I feel like it kind of adds to the drawing. So, you know what? I'm going to make erasing pencil optional. Maybe there's some areas where like, in these areas I don't really feel like the pencil's adding a lot to that shape. I'm also going to try to keep these shapes light when I do the watercolor. So then I feel like those pencil lines would surely show through. So on the letters only, I think I'm going to go ahead and erase. Remember, when you guys take this hand photograph, if you'd like to hold an important object, you can do that. The reason I did a J, a D, and an F is those are my family's initials. So Jordan, my husband, Desmond, and Frankie are my children. Anyway, so I think that's all I'm going to erase. You can see that in certain areas I use the thicker black Sharpie on the outlines. In dark crevices in the fingers, I would have done the dark thicker Sharpie. Even on like one side of the nail where there was a little bit of shadow, I did the thicker Sharpie. Also, if you notice all those lines where they kind of create shadows, those are called hatching and cross hatching. So right here we see hatching, which are just lines in one direction. Right now my lines are fairly spread out, so it's kind of creating like just a light gray zone. Where the lines are closer together with the hatching, it's creating more like a middle tone or a medium to dark gray. And then where there's lots and lots of lines, or where there's lines, crisscrossing back over, creating more cross hatching, it's creating more of those dark gray areas. So if you want to experiment with hatching, I'm going to try to find a good video online, just like on YouTube on hatching and cross hatching. And if I find one, I'll post it. You guys do not have to do hatching and cross hatching in this project, but as I was doing Sharpie, I just thought, you know what? I think this will add some visual interest to my drawing. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. So like I said, it's not required. You don't have to do all this hatching and cross hatching to create shadows. But if you want to, I think it would look cool. So let me see if I can find a good video on that, and I'll try and post that with it. But anyway, this is the Sharpie phase. You basically just do your outlines. Don't be afraid to do a dotted line or a dash line where it's kind of broken line. I think that those lines kind of create more character as opposed to just one thick, solid black outline where it looks kind of cartoon comic book-esque. and then I will come back and meet with you guys for the watercolor phase. Okay, good luck.